What you got in the bottle there?
Oh, I have a white wine. Isn't
Ooh.
that wild? But look at it. Isn't it
I
beautiful?
love it. It is very pretty.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I do like it. Is it what kind of white is it? Is it Chard?
No, it's a Pinot Grigio.
Oh, okay. Have you had that before?
I have, and this is what
Okay.
I drank pretty heavily at that wedding in Canada and regret it the next day.
How many bottles of that do you have for tonight?
I just have the one, so
Okay, then you should be straight.
there should be no regrets tomorrow. Who knows how much I had that night? Okay.
Well, you were at a party. It was a social function. It's a little harder to contain yourself. Here, it's just you and me, and we're talking ghost stories, so that's plenty of amusement for you. You don't need to go extra heavy on the prophecy booze, right?
Right.
I do love the label, though.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I got this
Thanks.
as a birthday present, and I just haven't
Aw.
drank it. And I kind of didn't want to. The bottle was so beautiful. I'm not going to throw the bottle away. The
Yeah, for
label
sure.
is just gorgeous. It's those beautiful blues and greens that I love, and yellow. And it's like, as soon as I saw her, I was like, she's a water witch. And that's all. I was like, I love her.
There you go. So that one spoke to you in a different sense.
Yeah, I don't know what they're trying to portray on the label, but that's what I got from it, and I was like, this is my jam.
I really like that. Normally, Wendy, when I'm out buying wines, I'm just like, which one is the cheap one? And that one's speaking to me. $9.99 and you're mine.
Yeah, well, the Prophecy brand, I don't think it's too expensive at all. I think it's in that $9.99 range or something. So I'm sorry. I'm making a ton of noise because, like I said, I'm ready. I'm not ready. By ready, I mean you can talk to me while I finish setting up my little area.
Hey, no worries. Whatever. This is our podcast, and this is how we do it. And I'm Chris.
Oh, and I'm Wendy.
And on here, on this podcast, we like to eventually, at some point, tell you stories about paranormal things.
Yeah, but you know what we do need to talk about before we start telling them a story?
Hold on a second. Are you about to tell me what I think you're about to tell me?
I think.
I hope so.
I think we're on the same page that this has to be discussed.
Let's do it.
And I wanted to not say anything to you at all, of course. We've said before, now we hold on to all our paranormal conversation until the podcast, but I couldn't. I just felt so, I don't know the word for it, relieved or just so excited. And we told them after watching this. So this is recorded weeks ago. So you're going to be hearing this a little late. It's not the newest episode, but the episode that just must have come out or something for Kindred Spirits was the Villisca axe murder house. Is this what you thought I was going to talk about?
Yes, that's exactly what I thought you were going to talk about.
Yes.
And I knew that it was coming up. I follow Amy and Adam on Instagram, so I saw pictures of them standing in the snow outside of the house, which, by the way, it's really quite pretty in Iowa with the snow, I thought. Or their photographer just knows how to fucking do it. But, man, those were some pretty shots. So, yeah, I knew it was coming up. And then you texted me first thing you texted me at night. I got it first thing in the morning because we have a 3-hour time zone difference. And I was like, no, I haven't seen it yet. But I totally can't wait. I know what it's about. I watched it that morning before I went to work.
Which is just crazy to me.
I knew you were going to be like, what? You did what? But I couldn't wait. I knew what it was on. So, yeah, watched it, totally was psyched about that episode. My favorite part in the whole episode, and I don't know if you want me to just jump into it, if you had something that you wanted to say first.
No, jump in. I'm sure it's mutual, everything we're about to say.
My favorite part in the whole, well, I have two, but I so loved Amy Bruni up there in the attic, fucking provoking whatever was in there. First of all, she let Adam go and sit in between the attic and the hallway right there with his back to the attic, and he was freaked out. He did not like it, but he had the sense to say, okay, I'm just wigging out and I need to let go and just do this, which he did. He came back and told Amy all about this. She got to hear the whole thing as it was going on. I didn't expect her to go up there and start provoking because she was told, hey, Johnny Hauser said, you should, consider doing this. I did not expect her to do it. I figured she'd be like, nope, We're not doing that. I'm not down with that. But she went up there and started talking to it like it was a little child, and she was scolding it, you know,
Yeah.
you aren't going to do this, and you're not going to, I'm going to put you in timeout. I mean, she didn't say that, but that's what
It is kind of how it came across, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so cute. But I was shocked that she actually did it, because provoking isn't something that they typically do that I've seen. I've never seen that sort of thing. They're more like researching and trying to help out people, which they did in that episode. They helped out maybe 2 people, I guess. And that was the other very surprising part for me, was that Buck had showed up. He was the guy that I had just read about and prepared for the episode, but didn't know anything about him going to the house when we went there in September a couple years ago. And Johnny Hauser told us about it. I was like, what? This guy stabbed himself? Getting to hear his whole story was great, because as of that point, nobody had known what had happened.
No.
Nobody had known.
And I had envisioned it totally different, too.
Yeah,
the way Johnny Hauser was so vague when he was telling us, and it was kind of like, I don't have a whole lot of details. It sounded like, it just didn't sound like what it was. And to actually see that gentleman and hear it from him, it was like, oh, this poor thing. Like, originally we were like, that's a crackhead, you know, like when we didn't know the full story and we thought he was just being an extremist, or maybe even like he went there with his own demons and he had this whole plan. I mean, there was a whole lot of like, we weren't being sympathetic before, and I definitely am now.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that place definitely changed to how we approach things in general. But just watching that episode and knowing what I went through when we went to Edinburgh first, and I had that crazy experience. And then from there, we went to Villisca, and I still wasn't right. I was still shaken up, I guess is probably the best way to say it. I feel like it was almost like what they had said. If you come in here and you're weaker, it's going to attack you.
Yes.
It's going to find you out, and it's going to lay into you. And after watching that episode, I was like, it wasn't just me. I
felt like better. They were talking to us. It was insane. Like I told you, I said, it's like they listened to our podcast or something, which they didn't. But I was like, they're talking directly to us. This is exactly... If we did not explain in our Villisca podcast episode well enough the experience we had, then please, listeners, go watch Kindred Spirits, the Villisca axe murder episode, because you get it. You visually get what we experienced as well. Just seeing these other people go through it as well. The energy in that house. I mean, there wasn't anything mega that happened to them even during this investigation, but it's the vibe that it puts off. The EVP responses you get, you can hear the creepiness. You hear the emotion of the energy, the bad energy that's left in that house. And it's kind of like, this isn't the family, so who the fuck is it? And that's not safe. And the fact that Chip Coffey was on the episode, and just with his abilities and everything, and how he confirmed the same thing, and then explained, like you said, about if you go in kind of weak-minded in a sense, then it's going to attach to you. And that's totally what happened to us.
And that's not how we typically go into these things. It's just that I had such an experience earlier, and I was shaken. And whenever I'm like that, Wendy said before, I mean, it affects Wendy just as much. She didn't have the same experience as I did, but she could tell that I was upset and there was something emotional going on with me. So she is just as on edge as I am.
Yeah.
And we went in there, and it was just as if it knew we were there, like we said and that was our story was called Inside the Rental Edition, which I guess I'll have to like repost or something now that this one's going out, because we're kind of linking the two together. But when we went through with Johnny, and Johnny was just kind of like, this is that and this is this, and he told us the story about Buck and what happened. Everything was fine and dandy. The sun was shining. The house was, well lit, but there's no electricity. It was just kind of like a clean, inviting. I don't know if inviting is the right word. It
was, though. It was like being in your grandmother's house or something like that. It was like, okay, this is cool. This is going to be fun to have this to ourselves for the night. And we'll communicate with this, poor little family and see what they'll want to tell us and stuff.
Right.
That
Going
was
in.
not what it was.
No, it's so funny because going in with Johnny, it felt like, why is everyone saying that this is one of the scariest places? I don't understand. Why would this guy try to kill himself? I don't understand. He left. We tried to get back in, and everything went downhill from there. It was almost like, oh, girls, you do not know what you're walking into. But since you're here, I mean, it was just like it woke up.
Yeah, and they said that during the episode, which is something we had said before. Yeah. It's like the house becomes... It's like the house is a living entity, and it's reacting. The footsteps started, the noise started, and then you start paying attention to it and getting a little on edge, and then it just explodes. So
it was nerve-wracking.
Gosh, that episode, I just was like watching it in amazement, and I was just like, this is everything that happened to us.
I know. Totally. It totally was. And I almost feel like this is one of those things where we could have had a play-by-play on just that episode and relate to it. Like when they had Buck go into the Stillinger girls' bedroom, it's not the Stillinger girls' bedroom, but it is the room where the two little Stillinger girls had been murdered. He went back into that room, laid down on that bed, and that's where he's shown, where he was provoking and he had stabbed himself. I didn't even realize it was in that same room, Wendy. And then that is in the room where we were doing the spirit box and we started hearing footsteps in the kitchen. It's almost like the whole, like watching that episode was just like a reliving almost. And I wasn't even there, but it's like, I remember those moments so very clearly.
Yeah, it was
creepy.
It was just so, what did you say? It was like vindicating or whatever. Or it validated everything that we said.
It absolutely was. It was vindicating to know that it wasn't just me. There are other people having these same experiences. It's going on right now. And it did totally validate everything that we put out there. So I felt good about it. I really did. I went to work and I was in a great mood. I was like, yep. My Friday's going to be good. Not because I just saw the Villisca house on TV, but because of the things that I saw that other people experienced there. It just did. It made me feel so good. Weird, huh? Murder House makes me feel good.
Well, it's kind of weird because it made us feel so bad for so long.
For so long.
But,
really did.
It's just like finding that person that believes in ghosts too or whatever. It makes you feel better about yourself. Like, I'm not crazy. I'm not the only one that feels this way. So we've been to a lot of famously haunted locations that have been on TV and stuff, and we've not necessarily had the same experiences that those people on TV have. 100%. And then, so this was the first time that ever felt so relatable, and then it just felt so good.
Yeah.
Oh, and also Amy Bruno is a spicy fucking meatball because I saw comments on Instagram and people were saying like kind of negative stuff, and it wasn't too many people, but like someone said, again, I thought they listened to our podcast because I said this at one point in time, that they said that they think the Travel Channel is like taking control of their show. Remember when I said the Travel Channel has made the show like darker and shit? I was like, I didn't write this, but that's totally something we've said before. And then Amy Bruno was like, nuh-uh, motherfucker.
Hang on.
She didn't say that.
Wendy.
Okay.
I think her name is Amy Bruni.
Oh, I did just call her Bruno, didn't I?
Yeah.
Twice.
It's Bruni. Yeah. Oh. Well, that's okay because
let's just call her Amy. Yeah. So, disclaimer: but I haven't even been drinking. So
no, but it doesn't matter because your brain is telling you one thing and you're saying another, but you don't even realize it. I do that all the time, so I think it is good to have a disclaimer out there. We are just regular people. I sometimes call, or I sometimes say that Conan O'Brien is Canadian, and Wendy sometimes says the wrong names. It's
the wrong names, the wrong words. We just had a recent podcast episode that I was listening to, and it was great, and it was funny, and I liked the story, but I said Tombstone. Oh, no, I said Tucson instead of Tombstone when I was trying to say that. There was some other word I said wrong. Shit. What was the other things? Now I can't even remember, but there was all kinds of like verbal typos out of my mouth. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I mean, I didn't sound like I was totally fucking drunk during the episode. So I was like, where is all this coming from, Wendy? You're such an idiot. That's wrong. Just please know we know we make mistakes. We know we're saying it wrong. Bear with us. Oh, one time I said 2019 when I meant to say 2009. Like, just silly little things,
Right. Well, this isn't like the most factual place to get all your information.
No.
We're going... We're going on Google. We're getting as much of the information as we possibly can, but we're not Amy Bruni. We can't spend all day in a library. And I don't even know if she's doing that. She probably has a huge research team that's actually doing it for her. And she just sits down and reads the best parts to Adam. She's like, Adam, come over here. You're not going to believe what me personally just found,
Well, they also have a whole set of people around them. So if Amy was to say 2019 instead of 2009, somebody would be like, Amy, they'd stop her and then they'd retake it. There's nobody in here babysitting us. No. So in my mind, I hear it the way I'm and the way I see it in my brain, but my mouth just said something totally different. I don't even realize I made the mistake because, like I said, in my mind, the story is correct and I'm telling it. I don't know if it's a Southern thing. We just say what we want to. We make up words and we're like, you know what I mean.
That's what we do from now on. Let's just change the name of this podcast from Creatures of the Night to We Make Shit Up. No, we don't. I don't like that. Because then people won't listen.
No, because then people would think ghosts are made up. And that's not true.
Yes.
So
that doesn't work.
Anyways,
how about make up new words?
Back to Amy. She basically fought back against every little negative comment that somebody says. And I never would have expected that from her. But she does not like that. And she was wanting to set this record straight. So don't ever talk shit on her comments. I mean, like in comments on her posts, because she'll get your ass.
Yeah, she definitely will. I don't generally talk to them anyways. It is interesting to me to see that people like her respond to comments. I don't expect them to. That's why I don't. I mean, what am I going to say? Loved your show, with little ghost emoji. I mean,
you definitely can't say anything negative because she's not going to take it well.
I wouldn't anyways.
Yeah.
I keep that shit to myself.
Exactly. But that's what normal people would do. But anyways, so you got a story?
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of places that we've been to, would you like to hear about a place that we haven't been to?
Yeah. Love it.
The 10 Bells is a public house or a pub, tavern, where I guess people in London go to have their drinks. It sits at the corner of Commercial Street and Fournier Street in Spitalfields, which is in the East End of London and just a stone's throw away from the Whitechapel area. It originally stood on a site known as 12 Red Lion Street. However, when this building was pulled down as part of the cutting of Commercial Street in 1851, the owners of the 10 Bells were able to move it to its current position at 84 Commercial Street. At that time, it was known as 33 Church Street. I'm just throwing a bunch of streets at you just to see if you're going to hang on with me for a little bit.
I'm mapping it all out.
Oh, good.
I know this area. No, I don't.
You're like, oh, yeah. I was
me making shit up.
The name of the pub has changed over time, but those names have all generally derived from the number of bells in the peal housed in the Christ Church of Spitalfields, which is right next door. And I think that's super cute. You go and get your faith on, then you go and get your drink on. Or maybe go and get your drink on and get your faith on.
It's a Catholic church then, right?
No. I would assume. Being right next to a pub. I don't know. Maybe that's just how it does. I just think it's cute. And I enjoy knowing that it's like right next door to each other. And that's apparently how the pub originally got its name. In 1755, it was known as the 8 Bells Ale House.
Because there were 8 bells now. Got it.
You got it. Exactly. So I don't even have to go into that. The name is likely to have changed in 1788 when the church installed a new set of chimes, this time with 10 bells. The number of bells in the church increased to 12 at one point, and then was later reduced to its current number of 8 after there was a fire in the steeple in 1836. However, 10 bells, that name seemed to stick around. They liked that one. They were good with that. That is probably more information than you ever needed on a naming of this location.
Well, no, I'm actually really curious of why they kept adding fucking bells. Like, 8 bells isn't enough. Put 2 more up there.
I don't know. I think maybe it was just to piss off people in the pub.
Yeah. Were they just getting louder? Like,
maybe they felt like they had to be loud and obnoxious to get the people out of the pub to go to church. Guys, Come on.
Or to wake them up from their hangovers on Sunday morning.
Right.
To get them into church. Yep.
Oh, that's a rude awakening. But no, really, I just wanted to establish that this place is older and it has some historic relevance to it before I get into what this location is really known for today. The Ten Bells Pub is undeniably linked to the legend of Jack the Ripper.
I was thinking.
Both Mary Kelly and Annie Chapman, they were both victims of the Rippers, have been said to have been common patrons at the pub. Mary Kelly, Jack the Ripper's final victim, would pick up her clients just along the pavement outside of the pub. Her body was discovered in Miller's Court of Dorset Street, which is on the opposite side of the road from the Ten Bells, while Annie Chapman, the Ripper's second victim, was reportedly seen last drinking in the Ten Bells shortly before her body was discovered around the corner in the backyard of a house on 29 Hanbury Street. Strange activity had been reported at Hanbury Street leading up to the demolition of the house that once stood there. The site of which the murder occurred is now a Sunday market, though there were one-time claims that people would hear what sounded like a woman being murdered in the backyard of the house. You know, they said that they would actually hear a man and a woman, like, grunting, I guess the woman gasping and, like, him,
just
I don't know.
Playing out the whole thing.
The whole thing. Yes. And now it's where people go and buy their fruits and vegetables. Ooh.
It's like the greatest Sunday ever for us. I mean, I love farmers markets.
I know.
And then you get a show too. I mean,
right. And just make sure you pack up all of your equipment, but leave room for the vegetables and stuff to go on your backpack or whatever. Some tomatoes, a little death. Okay. Also, a headless figure was reported to have been spotted in the same area. Though, oddly enough, the poltergeist activity within the Ten Bells has been tied to Annie Chapman. Annie is believed to be the ghost that makes objects move mysteriously throughout the pub and has a particular fondness for moving pints of beer.
Is she trying to take them and drink them, you think? Or is she just fucking with everybody?
Personally,
she's like, if you can't have it, if I can't have it, you can't have it either.
I just think she just needs a drink. I mean, after what she's been through, she's probably like, why can't I just drink it?
Like in the movie Ghost, and he's Patrick Swayze's trying to pick up the glass. Yeah. Yes. And doesn't he just eventually swat it across the room or something like that? I think so. And it busts up against the wall.
So that's probably what's going on here. She's just desperately trying to drink that beer, and instead it just gets pushed further on down the counter, and the guy's like, whoa.
Or all the Patreons are intoxicated as fuck.
True. It is a pub. I know I have my questions too. Like I said before, whenever you hear stories about alcoholic beverages getting moved around, you drank my somebody, waitress, refill this, a ghost drank it. Despite the fact that Annie was brutally murdered, her ghost is not considered to be malicious in nature, and Annie has never materialized into a full-on apparition, though her presence is constantly felt at the pub. Having said that, there is a ghost at the Ten Bells that does appear on a regular basis. In the late 1990s, the pub had a live-in staff that stayed in rooms in the upper floors of the building. Well, they started complaining about having these alarming encounters with a ghostly old man dressed in Victorian-era clothing. They would talk about being suddenly woken up and having a terrible, uneasy feeling in the dead of night. Turning over, they would claim to see a man's phantom form lying in bed beside them.
Ooh.
But as soon as they screamed out, the ghostly figure just disappeared. So it didn't seem like he was actually causing any harm. He was just maybe trying to catch up on his beauty rest.
And creep everybody out at the same time. Nice.
It is very creepy. At first when I was reading that, I'm like, and they didn't know him? What? Oh my God. It's just some man in your bed. That is creepy.
That is creepy, but so relieving, I guess, when they dissipate and disappear. You're like, sweet. It's not a rapist.
Right, exactly. Oh my God. That would be horrifying. Yes, I could not imagine that ever happening to me. Staff with no previous knowledge of his ghost would often report seeing him, and their descriptions would always be the same. Nobody had any idea who he was, and those who had decided to live on the premises learned to just accept him as the oldest resident. Good, no pun intended. In June of 2000, a new landlord took over the pub and decided to clear all of the old shit out of the cellar. He found a really old metal box hidden away in a corner, and opening it, discovered it contained the personal effects of a man named George Roberts. Among those items was a brown leather wallet, which inside held a newspaper article that talked about George Roberts having been murdered with an axe at a cinema called the Swayze Cinema. Can you fucking believe that?
What? I mean,
Yes.
just like watching a show and somebody comes up with a fucking axe. I mean, that's not discreet at all.
No, it's totally not cool. And I don't know if he was the only one watching this show. Maybe it was the worst movie out at the time, and he was the only one there.
Maybe he was there, like, not when there was a show, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, like he worked there, or who the fuck knows?
Actually,
still pretty extreme weapon for just public space, broad. Well, it's not. I don't know when it happened. I wasn't there, so I'm just saying broad daylight. I remember watching the whole thing.
I saw the whole thing go down, and it was just not right. Further research revealed that a man named George Roberts had indeed been the landlord of the pub in the late 1800s.
Oh.
So unless he was working two jobs, he was definitely connected to the pub, which just so happens to have been during the time that Jack the Ripper was active in the area. And it could just be strange coincidence. I don't have anything showing that he was in fact murdered by the Ripper, but many people believe today that George is the ghostly presence that they encounter in the upper areas of the pub. Sure, why not? They found a bunch of stuff downstairs. They've seen this guy kind of floating around. He doesn't seem to be malicious, so gotta be George. They call him George now.
And he's just kind of peaceful and resting and stuff like that. Like, this is my bed. And
Right.
when somebody yells at him, he's like, oh, what's wrong with you? No, but yeah, I wonder if they kept his stuff in there once they took it out. Did they see any change in activity and stuff? Because, you know, that kind of thing would leave a spirit kind of connected to a location, and maybe not so much once it's removed.
Right, exactly. I would like to know that too. I don't know because they didn't mention that, but as of 2001, someone who is living there, he reported still hearing footsteps, followed by a faint bout of laughter outside his door, which I had read off and on too, that there's laughter heard in the upstairs part of the pub. But this guy, he went out to investigate it, found everything to be completely empty. And he went down into the bar to investigate, a little bit more, like, was there somebody here? But he was pushed hard on the back. And this was by, an unseen force, an invisible hand, so to speak. And he's the only one that I found said to have anything that was, malicious being done. So I wonder if maybe he was pissed off, that he was hearing these voices or laughter. Maybe he thought that someone was playing a prank on him and he started shouting or provoking. Maybe he didn't do it intentionally. Maybe he didn't realize it was a ghost, or maybe he wasn't trying to provoke, but maybe he was just like, who's there? Who's messing with me? Blah, blah, But he's the only one that I've read that he didn't get hurt, but he got shoved in sort of like a violent way. So I wonder, had he been provoking, which was kind of interesting because we were just talking about Villisca, and it seems like shit does kind of go wrong when you do a little bit of provoking instead of just kind of easing your way into things. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah, because their first night there, they were just kind of sitting and not doing much of anything, just sitting and waiting, and they weren't getting much of a response. It's kind of how we went in there too.
Right, exactly.
Remember, we were just playing on the piano and like asking, just sitting in spaces and stuff. Just because a spirit responds with some kind of physical touch that catches you off guard, so it might feel like a very forceful push or something like that, but it's also, like I said, catching you off guard. You're not ready. It may not necessarily mean that it's malicious.
Right.
You might have just, you don't know the full story is all I'm saying.
I don't. It also could have been that he interpreted it as a push, but maybe someone was, or something was pushing past him, trying to get beyond him, or ahead of him. He could have interpreted as him being pushed by something, pushing him, just being angry with him. But it could have been something just rushing past him. We really don't know. I don't have the full story. So, it would just have to, I guess it would take a couple of investigators to go up there and check it out for themselves to know. And it's a pub, so.
Investigators like ourselves?
Yeah. Let's go to London. Hell yeah.
We can somewhat speak English.
He tried daily. So, anyways, a psychic was once brought to the pub. I'm sure there have been plenty more, but this is the only one that I got a story on. She was brought to the pub to see what she could pick up. Having reached the top floor, she paused outside one of the rooms and refused to go any further. She said that she could sense that something terrible had happened in the room and was almost certain that it involved the brutal death of a baby in the 19th century.
Oh.
Yeah. Lindsay Civiter, she is a leading researcher and expert on the Jack the Ripper crimes. She was being shown around the pub a few years later and had been allowed access to the roof. She noticed some material embedded in the floor behind the water tank. And when she pulled at it, she found that it was actually an old sack tied at the top. Once she pulled it out and opened it up, she found that it contained a moldy old set of Victorian baby clothes that had appeared to have been slashed with a knife. What makes this more interesting is that the water tank was directly over the room that the psychic had straight up refused to enter. So there is some kind of connection. I don't know if that has anything to do with Jack the Ripper. It's a baby. I had never heard anything about it, but, whatever. It could just be that she was there. She's the leading research expert, whatever, on the Jack the Ripper crimes, and she's the one that found it. So that's how it got tied to the whole Jack the Ripper story.
Yeah.
But, it's creepy.
I think it's just the way that it's told. I think it's just she investigates a lot of his cases, and so that's how they identified her. But this is what's going on in this place, because that doesn't seem to fit the profile. I would almost think that this baby situation is something that's kind of like a domestic issue, basically. An unwanted pregnancy, whether it's by the female or the male, and was taken care of. Because to hide the clothes and stuff like that, that's not Jack Ripper. That's like somebody trying to dispose of their secret and whatnot.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. And who knows? Nobody ever put an actual date stamp on those clothes. It seemed like it was Victorian era, but you can go out and buy any kind of doll clothes, and they can look whatever you want to buy. Nurse Nancy, she's in like an 1800s, nurse uniform, but I just got her at the Goodwill for like $2. So you don't know where those were found. It is just kind of interesting that the psychic had felt some kind of energy going into her room, which also really has nothing to do with that site, some sort of terrible thing happening to a baby. So something might have been connected to those clothes, but like you said, it might have been something not related to Jack the Ripper, but more of like a bad domestic situation.
Yeah, I wonder if it even happened there.
I know.
Or if it was just connected to the actual piece of clothing or whatever.
Right. And that psychic needs to be found, because if that's the case, she needs to be on some, murder cases that are, people can't let's put her on Zodiac or something.
Some unsolved mystery stuff.
Some unsolved mysteries, yes. Because she's got it going on if she's that in tune. I know, right? So now I'm going to move on to Mitre Square. I hope that's how you pronounce it. It might be meter. It's got an R and E in a weird way, so I'm not really sure how to go about saying that one. So I'm going to go with Mitre Square. And this was where the body of Catherine Eddowes, she was the fourth victim of the Ripper, and this is where she was found. This location now happens to be surrounded by modern office blocks and borders a school still within the East End of London. Nothing remains of the Victorian Square except the cobblestones, which people hurry along on their daily routine going to and from work. But this spot happens to have some haunting activity and directly ties to Catherine Eddowes. Local tradition maintains that on the anniversary of Catherine's killing, which was September 30th of 1888, people have occasionally glimpsed Catherine's spectral figure lying upon the spot where her life came to such a tragic and gruesome end. A medical student who was passing through the square one evening reported seeing what he thought was a bundle of clothes. He suddenly saw a slight movement and thought that someone had fallen and was hurt. As he walked towards it, he could see that it was a woman lying there, but as he got even closer, she just vanished. Just like, bye-bye.
That's messed up. It's like you think you're going to someone's aid, and then all of a sudden they're like gone. You're like, what?
What? Right.
That was in my coffee.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. And then I'd pop up my cell phone and be like, guys, I can't come in today, or wherever the hell I was going. I'm going right back home. Something is wrong with me, sir. But it wasn't just him, because I read a lot of stories of people basically reporting the same thing, only there were some slight variances, and there is this one added detail that others have reported that he didn't. Some have seen the cobbles in the square on the spot of the murder glowing blood red on some nights. So you see a woman or a bundle of clothes, she disappears, and now it's glowing cobblestones. This one story that I read, I don't know, I think it was a couple. It just said this guy and girl, so maybe I'm wrong about saying it was a couple. But they saw a woman lying there, and it looked like blood, but it was glowing. They ran to go get help and came back and saw a couple of other people sitting on the bench right where the body had been, but there was no body. There was nothing glowing, no blood, and those people didn't seem like they had seen anything at all. So now this, this man and woman, whatever, I don't know if they were on a date or what was going on, but, they're probably thinking, what the hell just happened?
That's the best date ever. Those people got married.
I do love
I'm like,
that.
you're a keeper. You didn't abandon me.
And we saw something amazing.
And we saw something amazing together. No, but I bet they came back and they saw that other set of people on the bench, and they're like, what did you do with that lady?
What did you just do? I'm sure that was a very weird confrontation.
I feel like they had to have known something was up, though, because they didn't go and try to help this person by themselves. Like, here, you stay with this person. I'm going to go get help. They were both like, oh shit. We better go get some help. Don't leave me in here alone with it. They're probably like, that blood doesn't look right.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she looked all misty and foggy.
You saw the new Captain Marvel, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, like when she's like, your blood is blue. That's not a spoiler, everyone. Maybe it somewhat is. You don't even know what I'm talking about. But she's like, your blood is blue, so I'm going to believe you because this is all really weird.
Right. That's funny. But yeah, I like the tie in there. Maybe that's kind of how it went down. They both saw the same thing. So they're like, we're just going to stick together on this one because you saw it, I saw it. If I'm crazy, you're crazy. So let's just hang together. So, as you know, Jack the Ripper terrorized the streets of London more than a century ago and claimed the lives of at least 5 women in London between August and November of 1888. No one was ever charged in the murders, but did you know that he may have actually finally been identified?
Well, maybe. There's lots of theories that come across more like conspiracy theories, which you love. So what are you about to tell me?
I'm about to tell you that genetic tests published just recently, which March 15th, 2019, in the Journal of Forensic Sciences, point to Aaron Kosminski, who was a 23-year-old Polish barber and a prime suspect at the time. Kosminski was previously named a suspect, but this is the first time supporting DNA evidence has ever been published.
I did not know this. So the barber thing totally checks out because I think they speculated before. But where are they getting this DNA from?
I'll tell you. The results come from a forensic examination of a stained silk shawl that investigators said was found next to the mutilated body of Catherine Eddowes, who was the 4th victim, who was the one that materializes on the cobblestones,
right? That
eerily bloody red glow to her, whatever. The shawl is stained with blood and semen, the latter which is thought to have belonged to the killer.
Ugh.
Yes. But
century-year-old semen, but just I can't even believe they can get anything off of that.
Please do not name this episode. Real statement. I don't know how I'll go on Instagram and say that over and over.
We totally are. No, there was something you said earlier, and I was like, that's totally going to be the title. But you're right. This trumps that.
Oh, my God. Whew. Researchers compared fragments of mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down solely from one's mother, which was retrieved from the shawl, with samples taken from living descendants of Eddowes and Kosminski, to one of Kosminski's living descendants. Oh, isn't that crazy? It's so like forensic science is still there, man. You watched Forensic Files, right?
Right,
and
right.
Like, you could almost have a drinking game to every time they fucking say mitochondrial DNA, because they say it over and over and over again. And when I read this, I was like, I have to do my story on this, even though this isn't like a crime podcast or Unsolved Murders podcast. I could not wait to tell you that.
But a lot of hauntings come from crime and unsolved things because ghosts have unfinished business. So it connects. It does. Sure. It's all connected.
There were lots of other stories of hauntings too. I just chose to tell you about the ones that are actually still very active. Some of the hauntings, for whatever reason, seem to have kind of died down, with things either being shifted around in London or moved around, or maybe someone with some good let's move you on skills have actually cleansed these places, or I don't know, maybe like, so Annie Chapman, who I'd mentioned earlier, she was killed about a block away, but her spirit seems to reside in the pub itself, but only recently, whereas before they thought that she was still getting killed over and over again in the backyard, like I said, in the field where they have the market now.
So, well, it's not a side note because it connects to what you're saying, but like, maybe these spirits, they're in one location until so much changes for them that they can't handle it anymore. And so they travel to a familiar place, like an old pub that probably hasn't changed that much in design over the years. And then what I was going to tell, the side note I was going to tell you is that TEP, Tucson Electric Power Company, replied back to me about the Santa Rita Hotel, and which, I don't think they really asked around, but they said they asked around and no employees report any paranormal activity in the office buildings that the Santa Rita Hotel used to be on that property. And so that kind of connects because maybe there isn't any activity anymore.
Right.
Maybe all those spirits from that hotel now are like, whoa, wait, where the fuck are we? And so they venture off to like other locations that seem more familiar to them and fit their time.
That's very possible. And people can't explain why it's haunted. Or even more to your point, it could be a piece of furniture or something that spirit is really tied to. And it might just have found its way into your house and now some weird shit's going on. Like, the beer keeps getting moved around or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I just, so I, like I said, there are some more stories in London, but I chose to tell you about the ones that are relevant, the ones that seem to be still active. And I was just blown away. Wendy, actually, I told you earlier, I was texted that information and I was about to forward it right to you. And then I wouldn't have been able to do this podcast. So there you have it.
Man.
I have just one more thing to add. The pub is mentioned in the book From Hell, 1999, which is about Jack the Ripper. It was written by Alan Moore, and the film adaptation From Hell, 2001. It features the pub, including a scene showing Johnny Depp as Inspector Aberline having a drink with the Ripper victim Mary Kelly. But I guess that was all inside the pub itself. So if my photos don't do it any justice, the ones that we'll add to Instagram that also get added to other social media links, then maybe just go see, the movie From Hell if you haven't seen it already. I remember seeing it. I don't remember if it was that good. I know that I saw it, but at least you'll get some, you got your history lesson on the pub, then you can actually see it in action.
I love that. I didn't see that movie. So
you haven't?
Tell me everything about it.
Well, Johnny Depp's in it, so that's all you need to know. Hubba hubba.
I don't know about Johnny Depp sometimes.
Well, I mean, he is a wacko, but especially
I think
after
that's
the
just
whole...
in later years, though. My favorite Johnny Depp movie is Blow. What's yours?
I was going to say Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, shit. That is good.
I love that movie.
That's really good. I really like Blow, though. That sounds weird. Sorry. That's not how I meant it.
No.
I don't do drugs.
No. What was the other one? Hang on, I got a better one for you. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Oh, it was. I should have said Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh.
How about that?
See, I like fucked up movies like that. That's why
that's a good one.
Yeah, that's why I like
Benicio Del Toro. Thank you.
Yes.
Love him.
Love him. Yeah. So he's a good actor, but I think he's slowly losing his mind or something.
Even better. I love him crazy.
Benicio, he could do whatever he wants. But I mean, Johnny Depp, like, I think that Pirates of the Caribbean just pushed him over the edge or something.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe just too much money and too much booze. I hear he spends like $12,000, maybe it's $20,000 a month in wine.
Sir, you don't know there's $9 bottles out there that they do the job.
Right. So more to your point, yes, he is clearly losing his shit because you don't need $20,000 to buy good wine. I mean, maybe he's going to fucking Pavaglia and actually get the wine there. I don't, because in that case,
he goes
you
straight
probably
to
have
the
to spend
source.
$20,000. Yeah, he's got to go straight to the source. But yeah, so anyways, that was my story on the whole Jack the Ripper deal. If you have any stories and you're from the London area, any of the stories that I left out, you can definitely email us your stories. We'd love to hear them. Email us at creaturesofthenight@paranormal.gmail.com. And we will share your stories on the podcast. So give us your name, give us your address, your blood type.
We're going to run it in the forensic. Yes. You're all getting checked out now.
Right.
Could be anyone. Sure. You don't know what your ancestors were up to. No.
Right?
No, definitely. If you have stories of this pub, then most definitely share them. Or any Jack the Ripper connected stories. That'd be amazing. Shit, we take any stories, especially from London. We definitely want to visit there one day. And so we'll need a long list of places to stop by for sure.
Yes. And gluten-free places too. If you just want to give us a list of great places to eat that are gluten-free, I'll take that.
That would be helpful as well, because you do have to eat to survive.
But anyways, if you like this episode, review, rate, and subscribe to our podcast. We're going to keep doing this show and more episodes just like it, unless you tell us, what you'd prefer to hear. Or,
We're open to suggestions as well. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And then, so you can talk to us or follow us on a whole bunch of forms of social media, like on Facebook, it's like COTN Paranormal, and then I think it's COTN_paranormal on Instagram. Twitter, maybe it's COTN Paranormal. Basically just type in COTN. There can't be too many people going by that. And then you'll find us on YouTube and on all the Twitters and Instagrams and Facebooks. Talk to us. We love talking with you. We also have a website, creaturesofthenight.paranormal.com, where you can go and buy t-shirts. Did you see I was sporting one of the old school t-shirts?
Yeah, I did. I noticed that. I was like, oh, you must have been painting today.
No. I don't know why. I just... it's really comfortable. It's a bigger t-shirt for me, so hides my gut. I have an old one of our website that still exists. IBelieveInGhosts.com. You've been blogging more lately, so the blogs are updated on IBelieveInGhosts.com, where they're not on Creatures of the Night Paranormal, because we need help. So.
We have taken on too many hobbies. We've got so much going on. We've got websites coming out of our ass at this point. And the problem is that we want more. We want paranormal everything. So we're out there gunning for it. We're trying our best to get it all out there for you with Twitter, with Instagram, with Facebook, with the web pages. So please, like I said, email us or Instagram us, hit us up on Twitter. Let us know what you like. If you like any of this, subscribe so that we don't feel like we're just doing this because, we're nutso and we just can't get enough of the paranormal. We want to feel like we're actually, giving you something that you want also.
Which we would have these Skype calls with or without you. We just wouldn't bother to record them, you know? So.
We've been doing a lot more painting too, by the way.
Yeah. So, you could save us a lot of time and we could make a whole bunch more artwork if you would just tell us your show fucking sucks. Why don't you just stop it? Don't tell us that, actually.
Don't say that.
Well, email us. Don't tell everybody else that, at least. Right. But yeah, I don't know if I even, I think I got distracted by my own t-shirt, but we sell t-shirts. We're selling t-shirts now that say Creatures of the Night and they just have fun designs on them and whatnot. So if you want to go to our website, creaturesofthenight.paranormal.com, like I said, or you can go to the Spirit Emporium Etsy page. They're sold there as well, along with a bunch of cool little like witchy type stuff if you're into thing. Because yeah, you got to cleanse that spirit after hearing about all this bad shit in the world. Yeah, you do that with incense and wine.
And wine. And I guess, speaking of t-shirts, I guess on our next podcast, we'll be announcing the winner of our t-shirt contest, which will be late coming on the podcast because we are 2 weeks in advance. But I'll actually post it to Instagram well ahead of time. But, for those of you who want to hear us lovely ladies saying your name, then you'll get to hear it on the podcast too. So.
Yeah, because we are doing a t-shirt contest. So there's a bunch of different ways to enter to win. Some are really simple, like just tag some friends. You should have some friends that don't give a shit if they get tagged into like kind of a weird situation. You could also go on whatever form that you listen to podcasts on, and you could rate and review and subscribe. But you have to screenshot it and send it to us because there's so many different ways to listen to podcasts. We can't track them all. And then the last one is the best one. Like we said, share a story with us. So that's cool for you and cool for us. And you're entered to win our t-shirt contest, which by the time this airs, it will be over.
You already know. You already know that you're the winner.
But we might do it again. So if you were like, I didn't know they were doing a t-shirt contest. I want a fucking free t-shirt. T-shirts are cool. Then it'll be the same deal for the next time that we run a contest. So
yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys and gals for checking us out and listening to our show. We really do appreciate it.
And thanks, Chris, for sharing that awesome story. Who doesn't love a Jack Ripper story? And then, like, just to know that there's these free, in a sense, locations that you can go to and just stalk and wait for green glow. I mean, not green. What the fuck? Red.
Oh, yeah.
Red glowy blood and stuff like that.
And damn, well, it's a little later in the month. Typically, when we go and do our ghost hunts, it's in September. But it's usually around Labor Day, which happens to be the first-ish weekend in September. And the tradition of Catherine's spectral image happens to be mostly seen around September 30th. So it's still within the same month. It's just way later.
Hey, that's my kids' fall break. We can go.
Ooh, that sounds like a great fall break. To London we go.
No, we're not taking the kids. It's our fall break. Forget those monsters. It's just for us.
Hell yeah.
Might as well. Probably will ghost hunt the entire time we're there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yes. Ghost hunt and sightseeing only like the dark and macabre. That's how we roll.
And luckily, Europe is full of that shit.
Full of it.
So,
it's like loaded.
Anyway, so that's our podcast. And that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye.
Bye.